everybody, and welcome back to the Cypress Hollow Zoo. My name is GrizGoat, and today we're building a flamingo habitat right next to our petting zoo that we built last episode. This build will be complete with a waterfall feature and a water filtration building. So if that sounds like something you're into, please like and subscribe, and leave some flamingos down in the comments to show that you are enjoying the Cypress Hollow Zoo. So with that, let's just jump right into the build. As you can see here, we're making a mud wall that a lot of people tend to use. You can use it just using the faux tree trunks and flipping them all around to make a nice vertical wall. And then you can adjust the height for that. So I'm gonna build it a little higher in the back just for our waterfall, and then a little bit lower on the edges, just to create a little bit more of a dynamic focal point in our habitat. And then I didn't like the color I chose originally, so we're gonna match it to the taiga rocks. I know I'm in a tropical biome, but for some reason I like the color of the taiga rocks in this habitat and on this day that I was building this. So feel free to mix up your rock choices whenever you feel like, and don't limit yourself in your builds. We're gonna lower this down just a little bit so the guests look down upon our flamingo flock, and then we're just gonna smooth out this edge because we don't want any hard edges or anything. Now we're gonna start on our water feature. So it's gonna be kind of divided into two sides of our habitat. We'll have a shelter over on the right, and then on the left will be where the staff enters. And once we get our barrier settled out, we'll be able to figure out where all of the water and everything's gonna go. We're gonna switch this out to a null barrier because we're gonna do our own custom barriers. But first, here comes our first flamingo. Flamingos are very social creatures, so we're gonna have at least 6 in here, and we're gonna leave some room for them to have babies at some point. This is my first flamingo build, so I've never really seen them in game, but I like them a lot. I like the way they run, I like the way they swim, I like everything about them. And back to the build, we're gonna be adding in our new custom barrier. It's gonna be the same color concrete as our caiman pond, just for consistency, and especially because they're right next to each other, we want all of the colors and themes to be somewhat similar. And building on a curved path is always a fun thing to do, but if you do it right, it looks amazing. Now that that's all complete, we're gonna get started on our waterfall. So originally I was gonna use the in-game waterfall pieces, but the effects just look a lot better in this application because I wanted just a bit wider and just a bit taller than what would make sense for the actual pieces. But we're gonna just kind of use some splashing effects around these rocks at the bottom here to make it look like it's hitting them and falling back into the pool. So there's the finished look. And now it's time to get started on our waterfall pump facility, or whatever you want to call it. So when I decided to build this exhibit, I had just watched a video from Ed the Pond Professor on YouTube, and he was at the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago working on a broken gorilla waterfall, which I had never really thought I would be interested in that kind of thing, but it was actually very interesting. I'll link the video down in the description. Go check him out. But yeah, he was kind of the inspiration for why I decided to build a big, discrete building on the back of this habitat. So from the front, you really won't be able to see much of the building. Obviously, you'll be able to see something behind there, but the original intention was just to keep it very minimal and low profile, just like you see in this shot right here. So it just peaks right above the waterfall. And now we'll get started on the roof. We're gonna keep it very, very flat towards the top so that we don't ruin the illusion of it being a natural waterfall. And then of course we want water to appear at the top of it. So I did use one of the pre-made waterfall pieces and sunk it deep just so the water splash effects that are tied to it don't show through our rock wall. And then we're changing the rock wall color by the waterfall just to make it look like it's actually wet rocks and not dry rocks like the other ones that are around it. So we're gonna finish up the roof now. We're adding a large ceiling window just so that our building doesn't look dark and dingy on the inside. And then finishing up with another flat roof on the end here. And then of course, remembering to seal all of our gaps between our roof and our wall. Now it's time to add our water pumps and our filtration systems. So we're gonna add a door for our staff to enter through, and then a garage door next to that, just in case they have some kind of big machinery or equipment to get in this building. For floors, we're going with kind of a polished metal. It felt like kind of the right floor in here to do, just like a very clean look, something easy to clean and mop up in case water spills or floods or who knows. And then I moved the water filtration system over to the far end just for more staff interaction. They actually walk all the way through the building now. And then added a heater just because honestly I didn't feel like making a custom thing, so I just used the in-game one. Now I'm working on kind of a level system for our staff to be able to reach the top of the waterfall for any maintenance and issues that they might have that they need to climb up there. So I'm just using a guest at our zoo to try to figure out the spacing for a ladder. I didn't really base this off much. I didn't go measure a real ladder or anything. It just seems like this person would be able to easily climb a ladder this spaced apart. So we're gonna stick with that. And we're gonna move it over to this wall. So we'll have a double kind of ladder system. We'll have one for this short wall and then one going all the way up to the top of the waterfall. And now with our ladder complete, we're going to duplicate that up the larger wall, scaling the waterfall piece. Now it's time to work on some logistics for our waterfall. First, we're going to add in a overflow catch. So this would essentially catch all of the water that would overflow from the top, and then it would send it back down through some pipes or out the front or something like that. But basically, it's just a lip around the pool that's going to catch the water. And then on the interior of the pool, we're going to add the steel beams, and the purpose of this is to slow down the water before it starts going over the waterfalls. So this was actually the problem that Ed the Pond Man in his video fixed for the zoo. But it looked like something that zoos typically do just in general. And since this is a kind of backyard zoo with a bunch of budget, it seemed like something we could do in the Cypress Hollow Zoo. So here we're adding the end of the pipes. That's going to be where the water comes out at the top, and that's where it hits the metal girders to slow down the water, because there's quite a lot of pressure involved in getting all of the water up here. And if that system overflows, we are going to pipe it all down into a hydroponic tomato garden. And if you have other plant ideas of what we could plant hydroponically, leave them down in the comments. For some reason, tomatoes were the only ones in the game that I could see being even remotely useful. So here's the final result. I think it looks pretty good. We just gotta put the roof back on and get back to our habitat build. Alright, so if you saw earlier and were paying attention, I had the exhibit all planted up, but the flamingos do not like a lot of foliage. So I'm gonna remove quite a bit of it and strategically place it around the habitat, just so it doesn't look like a dry, barren, open area. My plan also did not come with any enrichment items for the flamingos. So since we're in franchise mode, we are going to have to add plenty of enrichment for these guys, like this foraging pond, which we're going to make look like a tide pool and a little more natural than this concrete monstrosity. So we've color changed the concrete, and now we're going to add our taiga rocks in around it just to make it fit in a little better and give it a reason that there would be water piled up here. And then since I didn't get to do a bunch of foliage in this habitat, we're going to do a bunch of rocks along the edge here, just to give it the illusion that it's been dug out. And now, coming into the final stretch of our build, we're going to add some strangler fig roots just along the wall, just to give it a little bit more texture and detail, as well as some scavola bushes kind of creeping up the wall, just so it's not so blank and barren. And with that, our build is complete. Let's take a look at our flamingos. Check them out. We got the flock right here. They love hanging out right by the shelter quite a bit. Get right up close and personal with the guests over on that side. And then they have this lovely little island that they can hang out on. Really fun build overall. And don't forget our water pump facility. I'll probably end up filling this up with some more stuff. I couldn't really think what goes in a water pump building aside from water pumps. But here's the top of the falls, and if you look carefully, you'll see a sneak peek for next week's episode. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to drop flamingos in the comments, and take a guess at what you think is in the cage at the bottom of the screen. I doubt you'll get it, but maybe you will. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.